This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Good morning, True Seekers. Welcome back to another episode of Hit the Road Jack, Finding the Zodiac. Today we have with us again Nolan Del Campo and Harriette Suchet. I'd like to say hello and good morning to both of you.
Good morning, Nanette. Good morning, Harriette.
Oh, have we lost Harriette? Huh?
Hear me?
Oh, you're here?
I'm here somewhere. I'm in the ether world of the cyberspace.
Okay, good morning to you. How are you doing?
Doing fine. I believe this is going to be an interesting show because we're going to be covering, I think you said the My Name Is Solve, and I'm just rereading the older book, and this is something that we're going to blow people away with.
Well, I want to at least finish up. I did not finish at least 2 slides for the Kathleen Johns information I wanted to get out there, but I'm going to finish up with that real quick, and then we're immediately stepping right into My Name Is. So to where we left off was the stop. Suddenly the car screeched almost to a stop. The would-be killer had almost driven the wrong direction onto a freeway exit ramp. Miss John saw her chance and took it. She grabbed Jennifer, leaped from the accelerating car, and ran deep into a field where she finally threw herself on top of Jennifer so she could hold the baby quiet into an irrigation ditch. It says that the slaying from there, she could see, hold on. Let me close that. Can see a stranger, a flashlight in hand, trying to find her. After a while, he got back in his car and drove slowly off. So again, that almost even contradicts some of the information she had given to the original police officer who said who she told he just drove away. So now it looks like he actually searched for her. Again, all of this happening very fast in somebody's traumatized mind could have been forgotten. It says escaped victim identified the sketch, asked that night to describe the stranger. Miss Johns gave police her estimate of his age, height, weight, and hair coloring. Then her eyes drifted to a station bulletin board and she screamed out, "Oh my God, that's him right there." It was a wanted poster with an artist's sketch of Zodiac. It had been distributed statewide by San Francisco police after the October 10th, 1969 slaying of cab driver Paul Stein, which Zodiac proved was his doing by mailing a bloody swatch of the victim's shirt to the Chronicle. The picture was based on accounts of eyewitnesses who saw Zodiac flee the Presidio Heights murder scene. To the description police released then, see accompanying photo, Miss Johns remembers these details about Zodiac and his car. His chin had traces of pockmarks such as can be caused by acne. He was wearing a dark blue nylon windbreaker style jacket over dark blue or black woolen bell-bottom pants. Again, that's a description that's been used before in the Zodiac case, correct?
Yep. He's working at that point.
Right. So, his shoes, in her words, were. What's that?
Yeah, he's in uniform. He's in Zodiac uniform.
He says he looks different when he does it every time.
It's a uniform for him. Yeah.
His shoes, in her words, were spit shined, the high glass black reflecting the interior light of the car. He wore black, thick rimmed glasses held tightly on his head by a thin band of elastic, such as glasses wearing athletes and some working men use. Now, I think that we talked with Dennis about that, and those type of glasses were used in his in Jack's field, correct? When he was working on machinery and things to assure that it didn't fall off his head.
Yep, atomic energy. You know, you needed to have your glasses on if you only had one good eye. So yeah, if he's leaning forward, yeah, you don't want them falling off. So,
right.
Yep.
It says he spoke in a monotone with no noticeable accent. The car was a late model American-made, a light-colored two-door with black bucket seats, between which was a sporty console-style automatic transmission gear shift. At the front end of the console was an ashtray, in which on the right-hand side was a built-in cigarette lighter. The car, bearing the old California license plates, was messy. Clothes and papers were scattered on the dashboard and on both the front and back seats. Mostly men's clothing, but also some smaller patterned t-shirts, such as a child of 8 to 12 years old might wear. The only thing I could think about that is, do you think he was 8 to 12 at that time, though? Because he's going to California Youth Authority for a robbery here shortly. And she did guess 8 to 12. I mean, it's hard to guess.
Yeah.
But it's hard to also guess the size of a shirt belonging to an age of a child, because I know some big children that wear big clothes who are super young in age, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
You know, big older kid or small older kids that are still wearing a size equivalent to a 12-year-old because they're just not big kids.
Yeah,
it says on the Yeah. Either way, we know that there are children in his life on both ends.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
On the dashboard were a couple of colored plastic scouring pads and also a black rubber grip flashlight. Few, if any, of these details about Zodiac have ever been made public before. At the time the news media figured wrongly she'd made a mistake in identifying the Bay Area killer as the man who followed her from Modesto, and the story was largely ignored. Police, however, feel that she did meet with and escaped from the Zodiac. They based this on a thorough examination of the details of her story. So now, and also it says because of a Zodiac letter received by the Chronicle in which he bragged about his near miss and the fact that he'd gone back to Miss John's sabotaged car and burned it to the ground. When police found the station wagon, it had indeed been set afire. And this was literally, I want to say they said an hour and a half maybe after they had spoke with Kathleen Johns about the abduction, that they went to look for a car and found it burnt. So he immediately, after not finding her, went back and burnt her car. Now that brings us to the name. What's that?
Getting rid of evidence. I think he was getting rid of evidence for some reason, for good or for bad. But that's usually how you get rid of evidence, or make it something.
Right.
Anyways,
his hand would have been on her
input.
He had tampered with her tire, so.
Right.
I said he tampered with her tire, so.
Yeah, and that means fingerprints could possibly have been left. He went back to make sure that there was no evidence left, and he burnt the car. One of the naysayers on here really kind of shocked me when I was doing the research, that came out and said that the over the next few days, San Francisco's major newspapers, the Chronicle and Examiner, ran stories on the incident. On 7/24/70, Zodiac mailed a letter to the Chronicle apparently taking credit for the crime. Zodiac victim. This case is a mess. First of all, while John's claim her life was threatened, the police report tells a different story, which we just talked about. In fact, of the 3 reports I've read, none detail any statements by Johns about being threatened in any way. And even though Zodiac wrote a letter in apparent reference to the incident, he uncharacteristically failed to provide the details that would have clearly established his involvement. Their conclusion: credibility is a big issue regarding Kathleen Johns. Discrepancies in her versions of events, positively identifying numerous suspects as her alleged abductor, and marrying a convicted murderer don't help her cause. The logical answer to John's ordeal is that Zodiac was merely taking credit for the deeds of another. Whoo! I thought that was highly interesting to state, because let's remember the LA Times letter about the Riverside activity. It came years after the murder. I find it hard to believe that an author would write to include activity that, if he was found, could support a conviction for many more murders than he really did if he was just trying to take credit for crimes. It doesn't make any sense. And we also were going to see in this next letter that we're about. What's that?
It sells newspapers, though. It sells newspapers, though. Helps sensationalize.
Yes, it does.
Stories.
Yes, it does. And to say that the Zodiac has lied and is taking credit for crimes he didn't commit is really kind of an oxymoron, or at least it's adverse to this next letter we're going to talk about, which is the "My Name Is" letter, and in which case he is actively stating that he's not responsible for a crime and he didn't want to be attributed to it. So the two don't go hand in hand. One minute I'm taking responsibility for things I didn't do, and the next minute I'm saying, please don't include me in this one, right?
Right.
Yeah,
So this is the letter
it's
received.
Almost as if he was under. It's almost as if the way Kathleen Johns describes it in the police report, monotone, like robotic, sort of, very quiet. It's like he's under a spell, and that's what I'm seeing a lot of lately. He's definitely, and this is what the "My Name Is" cipher is going to say about MKULTRA.
Right. And we know that that is mind control. We know that remote viewing requires a certain amount of hypnosis. The Z13 "My Name Is" cipher was received April 20th of 1970. It is included on the list of validated document or communications from the Zodiac killer. And it has indicated that the envelope was processed for DNA and they found few cells. So we'll read this letter for everyone real quick. Mailed to the editor of the San Francisco Chronicle, San Francisco, California, with editor written probably on the other side of the envelope as well. It says, "This is the Zodiac speaking. By the way, have you cracked the last cipher I sent you? My name is," and he includes a whole new code. "I am mildly serious as to how much money you have on my head now. I hope you do not think that I was the one who wiped out that blue meanie with a bomb at the cop station, even though I talked about killing school children with one. It just wouldn't do to move it in on someone else's territory. But there is more glory in killing a cop than a kid, because a cop can shoot back. I have killed 10 people to date. It would have been a lot more, except that my bus bomb was a dud. I was swamped out by the rain we had a while back." I believe that this is his little image. This is the second bus bomb that likely came with that particular letter, where he was trying to discover or at least let everybody else know what it was he had in store. The new bomb, he says, is set up like this. So this indicates a bomb different than, I think, the first bus bomb. So he's now saying the first one's swamped out. Here's my new one. Sunlight in the early morning is going to trigger a string of bombs. And he says A and B are photoelectric switches. And by the way, switches here is spelled like Twitch in Sherry Jo Bates' confession letter, which is missing the T. When sunbeam is broken, A closes circuit, B opens, which makes B the cloudy day disconnect, so the bomb won't go off by accident. P.S. I hope you have fun trying to figure out who I killed. And he's used the word "figure out" in the Atlanta, Georgia murders when he says, "Have you people figured out who's killing these kiddies?" Right? Like, figure out.
Yes.
Yeah. So some of
he's recapping.
Right. He does. He recaps and he pulls in those connections at a later date. So what I have for this particular communication is have you cracked? Later, we're going to hear that he's crack proof. So this whole "have you cracked my cipher" is a running theme. The AEN code actually equals 13 letters, which equals the Jack W. Terrence, which is also 13 letters. How much money do you have on my head? Of course, he's concerned about what, and this might be why he's putting in these solves, like you're saying, Harriette, that he's scared that he's going to be killed or picked off for not being useful anymore. And he's wanting more work to keep himself alive.
Yeah, to keep away from the trigger.
Right.
Anyways, yeah, amazing what I keep seeing, but it says the "My Name Is" cipher is just it's a lot of people don't know, but you're going to start laying the foundation for this.
Right. So the Zodiac says he will not be blamed or take credit for another person's crime. We see this in a confession letter much later as well. So he is saying this for some benefit to someone. Why would he take credit for an abduction he didn't commit? And why would he have to put into a communication to somebody that he didn't blow someone up with a bomb? He talks about killing a cop, follow up to the Fairfield letters and the bleeding knife letters, where he indicates that he's going to kill a cop. He killed 10 people to date. So from the letter that claimed 7, the victims that I had that I thought were good possibility were Eva Blau, Marie Anstey, and Judith Hakari. So these are highly likely to have been his victims, though that actually leaves out things like Leona Roberts and Elaine Davis. So either he is not keeping his count true, or he's not killing as many people as the mystery of the Zodiac would like to include on him. But he does say that the bus bomb was swamped out by the rain, and here's my new version. That kind of brings us to Swearingen stuff, which Swearingen worked with us on a couple of the other solves, in which case he's also indicating that Jack wants more work, that he's done with the MKULTRA, that he's quit using the meds that they had him on, or the drugs, let's call it. Let's not call it meds. I'm sure that's what they'd like to believe. But he says that the Z13 code solution primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary messages, the primary message solution shown below is essentially the solution provided by Harriette Suchet with some details and commentary added by the author of this website. The secondary, tertiary, and quaternary messages were decoded by the author of this website. So he says, on a side note, some good questions were raised if the shown so-called encircled torus symbols, which are relatively low resolution, are indeed close enough in resolution to original symbols in order to enable accurate decoding. This would be important since a slight modification of the symbols would determine which letters of the alphabet could be traced or not traced. However, regardless whether or not the shown torus symbols are close enough to those in the originally received letter, and they may or may not be, it does not change the essence of the solution shown below, that is, that the letters of J, C, and W can be traced out, even with a potentially degraded copy of the original encircled torus symbols. So see end of page for sketch details. I have that here on the presentation where we're showing you where he has actually moved these things around. He says, although at first glance the above 3 encircled so-called torus symbols appear to be identical and hence should represent the same decoded value, in reality the interiors of the symbols are slightly different, but different enough to be of significance. The interiors and exteriors of the encircled torus symbols represent traceable letters of some of the alphabet, but not all of the alphabet, hence resembling a word game that a child played, or that children play. In the case below, the letters J, C, K were generated by Photoshop pixel removal of the original associated torus symbols, and see the end of the page for the sketch details. So basically what he's done is he's taken these torus symbols and he's been able to trace out the J, the C, and the W from those. And that literally helped him to come up with the message, Jack W, my name, in the Zodiac. So that final Zodiac symbol there at the end. Now, I saw that you had 14 symbols in your solve, and I want to see how many do you have? 4, 7, 12. He had 13. So I don't know if you got that 14th one from the additional Zodiac symbol at there. I don't think there was it. Nope, there wasn't an additional Zodiac symbol.
I got one.
How did you?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I think it's 13. Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So you're saying I got 14. Let's see.
We'll look when we get there. We're almost there. I was just noticing the difference that I referred to 13. He referred to 13, and then we'll look at yours. So he was able to get the secondary, the tertiary, and the quaternary messages that came out. Jack, am not with CIA men. CIA making me not JW. And to John, a CIA MKU man. These are the words that he came up with in anagramming out this particular coded message. So the primary message. Yeah. So this is the one that actually came up with the solve for the location of the Donna Lass's remains that they used on the History Channel docuseries, The Hunt for the Zodiac. So all this hype we're hearing about this guy that just recently made the solve of the 340 Cipher, Oranchak, he's working with this group of individuals who actually were using and following Swearingen solves to some degree in their docuseries, which I thought was extremely interesting. Go ahead.
Well, he got the code keys from what Dennis had showed me that Jack had showed Dennis. He got these code key symbols from me, and he
Right,
just
he
ran
said
off
that.
with the baton. So
Right, exactly.
I didn't
And
know
he
what
said
this
that.
meant.
It's that he
Yeah.
gives you credit right here at the beginning. The primary message solution was shown below and is essentially the solution provided by Harriette Suchet with some details and commentary added by the author of this website. So he did give you credit for the initial figuring out how to work those Taurus signs that Dennis showed you that Jack showed Dennis. So he basically goes on to explain the generated name of Jack W. is consistent with the known Zodiac killer suspect, Jack W. Terrence. The generated name of Jack W. is also consistent with, and to some degree, arguably confirms the Jack Terrence name generated from the 340 Cipher solution. The 713 solution does not necessarily mean that Jack W. Terrence is the Zodiac killer. It just means that he is alluding to he is. The Zodiac killer probably intended enough ambiguity in this word game, just enough to leave a legitimate clue, but not enough to be considered evidence leading to a capture and conviction. The secondary message here is consistent with the secondary messages generated in the Z18 and Z32 messages. Here are the Zodiac symbols, or here the Zodiac symbols represent an O with a T placed on top of it. The tertiary message here, Jack Terrence is probably referring to the CIA MKULTRA program, which we heard in earlier solves from both Swearingen and from Harriette. This tertiary message is consistent with other Zodiac decoded tertiary messages. And the quaternary message, the John being addressed here, is consistent with the John being addressed in the Z32 and Z340 code solutions. So he's finding that these are actually crisscrossing and matching back and forth with other solves, which kind of gives them credibility. The MKULTRA program is mentioned here in abbreviated format. So now you can kind of see here where he actually shows you how he worked out those images from within the actual Taurus sign itself, so that you could see how he came up with that. And again, just a list of the messages that he actually came up with. Jack W, my name, Jack M not with CIA men, and Jack M not, and CIA making me not JW. And that brings us to Harriette's. So Harriette, you had some work. I've got your little thing up here from your diary that you took down the notes in which how Dennis showed you that Jack used that Taurus symbol to decode or to encode, should I say, actual letters of the alphabet. So can you go ahead and start with us? It said at the top, it says Zodiac Jack Terrence, my name is Solve, and explain to us where you went from here.
Well, in the picture, I just wanted to say real quick where it says DEN, that's Dennis's handwriting. He's literally showing me this and how Jack, he said, I don't get ciphers, but this is what Jack showed me. And so anyway, so that's his handwriting. And then below it is an updated version of what I did with it and took pictures for this older book. Hopefully it'll be out on lulu.com soon. But anyways, it says, one day in 2012, Dennis showed me how to reveal Jack's name in it. He showed me, if I recall correctly, encircled camouflage letters in Jack's own writing, and that was how even the name of Dennis can be camouflaged in a rotating swirl inside a circle. Dennis said the FBI agent he was working with, Chris Hopkins, told him to hold off on the info until the lower jurisdiction's Zodiac cases close. Yeah, when hell freezes over. Anyway, I asked, that's what I put in the book, because anyways, it says, anyway, I asked him why was he keeping this quiet? And Dennis was tired, needed to break away from the cases that had often killed him one way or another. Well, this part of Jack's life is his biography, and I'm not here to detail his life, just decode his life's works. The Zodiac, my name is one of them. The symbols are Jack Torrance, CIA, MKULTRA code keys, or keys to codes, messages. In a sense, the 13 symbols are keys to the doors of other codes, cryptic messages, and one of them apparently is the Z code that Oswald and crew used. The code has been talked about for decades, and people said something about 13 characters or symbols were key to cracking a lot of that code. Anyways, here is the my name is, and then in the picture it says, you know, Dennis's handwriting, and then what I got out of that, and this is what Dennis said that Jack showed him, is there's an AEN, and then there's the circle with a T, sideways T, but there's also an embedded E. Then you have the circle and a camouflage bell top A, the K, a circle with a fancy script J, an M, and then an E in the circle that's camouflaged, the upside down Y, and then NAM. And then Jack says, name JAK for Jack, my name. We got to remember he was born J.W. Torrance J.R. So sometimes in code, it's just going to be spelled J.A.K. without the C. Anyways, so then I can go on at the bottom of that. It says,
and that's actually, hold on one second. And that's actually 13 characters. So I was wrong. Somewhere I picked up 14, I thought it was, but no, you're definitely using 13 characters for that solve. All right. So yes, go on ahead to the bottom.
It says, this is a picture from my diary, and Dennis told me the E, bell top A, Jack's type of cursive C was camouflaged in a circle like swirl. And then it goes on to say, first is A, second is E, third is N. So the fourth symbol mainly contains the E. The fifth symbol contains Jack Tarn's trademark bell top lowercase a. Sixth is K. Seventh is cursive J. Eighth is M. Ninth is lowercase e. 10th is upside down Y, but also undarted cursive I. Anyways, 11th is N. 12th is A. 13th is M. But this is not what shows up as a Zodiac letter 1970. My name is, etc. There is a Cyrillic W with the swirling. The swirling motion apparently is to tell the decoder to rotate the symbols. So if you rotate the embedded E symbol, you get a T. You rotate the N, it's a Z. Rotate the M, it can be an E or a W or even a 3. Thus, the many messages that can be digraphed, I put that in large letters, digraphed from just this 1/13 set of symbols. Hence, MKULTRA, because that is a series of digraphs and secret projects. This is Jack Torrance keys to a digraph system. And then it goes on to say about Oswald's rotary phone code. He knew a lot about Oswald that Jack Ruby knew, which is true. Ruby knew the rotary phone code. Anyway,
what is the rotary phone code?
It's literally using a telephone that has, you know, on the telephone back in those days, you had the ABC for like a number 1, 3 was DEF, and so on. And if you did it a certain way, you could spell out names, all kinds of things. Code breaking. Lee Oswald was into code making and code breaking also. And he was only 24 when he died, around that age.
I'm sure if he hadn't died, they'd have blamed him to be the Zodiac too, huh, Nolan?
Oh, yeah. So it's well, this is Jack's, and I got a lot of this actually by listening to.
And who is Jim Garrison?
He's the DA.
Oh, he was the guy that was the only one.
He was what, Nolan?
Trial, right?
The district attorney for New Orleans, and he brought Clay Shaw to trial for a conspiracy to murder JFK.
So this is. Oh. So he was a district attorney from New Orleans.
Correct.
Getting involved with what happened to JFK or RFK? This would be JFK. Okay.
JFK, yep. A lot going on there. Okay. Oh my God, so much.
Go ahead, Nolan.
But
for the movie JFK by Oliver Stone.
Really?
Yeah.
He must have had some good information then, or at least something they wanted to produce.
But his outfit, his prosecuting team was infiltrated by the CIA and the FBI.
Oh, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Of course. Well, you went on to say the symbols rotate, the numbers become letters and vice versa. Throw in the Z code and I think we're continuing with the next page on that. Can tell you I spent many hours rotating symbols. So I'm just reading your stuff to catch you up to where we are at this. Do you want to finish reading that one off?
Give me 2 seconds. The pages are sticking together for some reason. Come on, guys. The ghost won't let me speak. No, just kidding. Okay. Yeah, so, okay, then it says, so I can tell you I spent many hours rotating symbols, uncovering languages, messages. This is early on, my God, 2014, 2015. Anyway, zigzagging back and forth. At any rate, the symbols, the messages, the languages that come forth so far, and Latin is one of them, but also Greek, French, Spanish, Old English, Italian, and that is where one ends up zigzagging back and forth with dictionaries, Bible, scriptures, and other sources to crack the messages. So I was actually following some cues as to what I was finding out through Swearingen, where he was saying, man, this is how a digraph system works, and it's very, and initially it's confusing, but then you end up figuring it out. And I took pictures of the work that I did, and shall I read that?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay. I thought I lost you there because this phone system is crappy here. So anyways, what I was getting was Jack W, my name, and with a T and an O, so 2 or something. Jack W, my name, another 2, and then O, my name is Jack W.T. And then it's saying, I think it's saying Jack M with CIA men, Jack M not with CIA men, CIA making me not JW. That's what I was getting out of this, but I think so was Swearingen. He was saying, wow, CIA was doing things to him, and it's part of a history of what he was dealing with, that they were taking out his soul and replacing it with something else for him to do some dirty work. So that's so shall I read on what's at the bottom, or is it going to confuse
certainly.
people?
I hope not.
It says first symbol here is A, second is E, third is N, fourth is O, and sideways T, fifth is cursive C, sixth is K, seventh is cursive J, eighth is M, ninth is Cyrillic W shape, 10th is upside down Y or undotted cursive I, 11th is N, 12th is A, 13th is M, and then it's saying, please see Nanette Bardo work regarding the April 1970 Zodiac letter as the document, and I left out the word examiner, was able to work to clarify there is a W shape embedded in the circle and other letters camouflaged in circles, etc. But most importantly, that shape appears to be Cyrillic, so clues to a different language. Yes, like Russian. So anyways, or, we're talking about CIA, MKULTRA, Cold War. And then anyways, the book that I have here says, or subsets of languages with other messages possibly to be discovered. It certainly has come in handy for me to crack Jack Torrance's cryptic messages, as he was definitely involved in Cold War intel, especially when he did work in the new field of atomic energy.
Right.
So I think that's, but what I do have, because we are on the My Name is Cipher, I have since then acquired Dennis's old files from somebody.
I don't know if we lost her.
We lost her.
What in the world was that?
Yeah, I'm back.
There?
That was
okay.
weird.
Yeah, that was.
I was about to get a shout out to somebody. No, I was bringing up, because I do have Dennis's old files, And Dennis said that he found this in Jack's storage. I think you have some pictures of it, but I just wanted to be quick that Dennis had sent some faxes to Jack to clarify about the My Name is Cipher before Jack showed him all these things that we were talking about. And he's asking things like, how does Jack solve this? And Jack has a different system. And it ends up saying Jack the Zodiac after you doing certain with some of the code symbols, the code keys, and mixing the two together. So Jack was answering Dennis's questions via fax machine.
Well, but Jack the Zodiac would be too many letters, wouldn't it?
No, it's
Jack the Zodiac. That's 8 plus 6. That's 14.
Yeah, it's what Jack had done with it, and was
unless it was
Dennis,
JAK. Unless it was JAK, the Zodiac, then that would fit.
Well, no, he's saying it's a J and an A, and then there's a C and a K. It's something that Jack had done with his own code system, and it does that. There's something extra that it's how Jack was showing how to do this and how to move some of the symbols and get something extra.
And you have images of that?
It's in Jack's own hand. It's in Jack's own handwriting and sent via fax to Dennis.
And you have images of that?
I think you were able to get some images maybe last year, but I can send it again. But it's from Dennis's old files.
This means that Dennis would have been gotten at circa 2000 to 2005 from Jack.
There's
correct?
Actually a date on this too. It's dated according to his fax, July 10th, 01, I think it is, or July 30th, 01. Wow. Very tiny.
Yeah.
But Dennis had also asked him, how did Sonoma County get the composite? And he was asking questions, but the main thing that Jack answered in his own handwriting was how to get certain things, like a digraph system, through the My Name is Cipher. And it ends up saying that Jack is the Zodiac. Anyways,
gotcha.
So...
that'd be interesting to see. Well, I can always plop that up to start out the next week's podcast and see where we go with that information. I think we're also coming up on another letter here soon. Let's see. Yep. We'll be coming up on the Your Ass is Dragon. Sorry to hear Your Ass is Dragon greeting card, which is more, I think, known as Buttons letter, the Buttons letter. I don't know.
Yeah.
Either way.
Oh my God, peyote buttons. Yeah, I think he's hinting about peyote buttons there.
That would be interesting.
A lot of crazy drugs during that time.
Yes, there was. There was. I just wanted to and recap. There was also a by rope murder that was it was re-brought to my attention by Moonlight. Heaven forbid I don't give recognition where it belongs. Not that I didn't already know who Pat Tan was and already have it in the display. But on April 20th of 1970, the same day that the My Name Is letter is sent out, there is a victim that's found hanging by rope. And because the Zodiac talked about being by rope, she thought this would be important for me to know of, and that the person died on Mount Tamalpais, which again, this was something I was aware of. It was on the murder map by Betts. So Mount Tamalpais is a place that is being listed as having a victim. She was found having debris in her hair as though she was laying on the ground, appearing to be a staged suicide. She was found to be hanging by rope in an electrical cord, according to web sources. Then she says there were at least 4 other hangings around this time period, one of which had all his clothes removed. Yeah, who thinks to remove their clothes before hanging themselves? The Air Force Base was on top of Mount Tam. On the other side of Mount Tam was the body of Leona Roberts, suspected 8th victim of the Zodiac. Then there was the disappearance of the couple, Stephen Packard and Linda Lovell. One of the Stevens travelers' checks was cashed near the military naval base at Fort Bragg, 4 hours up the road. Then was the disappearance of another couple. It was suspected they fell over the headlands into the ocean with their car left behind, one falling over but both, she questions. And so this is kind of some of the stuff where I say I just get it regurgitated on me. She just smacks down a bunch of stuff, but doesn't really give any dates, any times, any relations to things. Most of these victims I do have, but I don't have any information on these additional 4 hangings, the Stephen Packard and Linda Lovell couple's murder. It looks like another disappearance, she says, of another couple. It's suspected they fell over the headlands into the ocean. Unfortunately, there is no information to tell me who these couples are, where they fit in, or what the time frame is for them. But that's kind of like what I mean by that regurgitation. A, you're giving me information I already know about, and B, you're giving it to me in an incoherent manner where I can't even relate it to what's going on in this presentation. And here's kind of another image. I know you can't see this, Harriette, but it's basically what she had sent me in the email. So it gives me these links to the zodiacciphers.com, to Tapatalk, to these other people that are just literally giving a slim amount of information. But 4 months later, on April 19th, 1970, Pat Tan, a woman of Eurasian descent, was discovered hanging by rope and electrical cord from an oak tree near Boot Jack Campground on Mount Tamalpais in Marin County. We know that Marin was mentioned by the Deer Draft Board letters, which is why I say these are all the same people. There is credit for Mount Tamalpais on Sandy Betts' murder map, and Boot Jack Campground, guys. Come on, Boot Jack. If we go back to Eva Blau, if we go back to Eva Blau, she was leaving Jack London Hall.
Yes,
so
yeah,
just 2 murders ago.
Out of that's how I got Jack's name, if I remember correctly. The way they were doing the evidence.
Like, who can't see all of these Jack references?
Yeah, well, and they were able to. It's amazing, but I honestly believe they were using the satellites. And you just mentioned about the Air Force, all this. They were using the planes above, because under Nixon, they were tracking these people down. They were tracking everything about them. And especially under a bright moon or close to a bright moon, especially at night, I'm like, this makes a lot of sense how they were able to get so much information at night, where the victim was moved or the body, and it was 100 feet from this intersection. They would know if it was a pretty clear moonlit night. And that brings back to what Dennis asked Jack. Why did you do these things around the full moon? He says, because you get a clearer, it's easier to see, it's clearer. So he answered him. So anyways, and especially if you're on Mount Tam, my God, a fogless, moonlit night, they're going to get a lot of aerial my God.
Some of the information that they indicated that I didn't have is that the knot was highly unusual, that the fact that she had leaves, twigs, etc. in her hair to leave open a murder or a staged death scene. How many people, flail around on the ground before noosing themselves up with this highly unusual knot, which is likely a Navy thing. Learning how to tie knots and stuff like that is definitely related to the military. I don't know enough about them to make any type of assertions, but it says that her keys were found in her purse, and it led authorities to a storage locker at the San Francisco Greyhound bus station. So there was another interesting piece of information. Yeah. So while Moonlight gives it to me in something that looks like I don't really quite know what to do with it, I am able to make some deductions out of it. I'm able to at least make some correlation to it, like the San Francisco Greyhound bus station and the keys that were found in her purse. However, with these other victims, we're seeing that he took the keys. Kathleen Johns, right? He took the keys and didn't return them. Ansie's keys were not found, even though they were not with the vehicle that was disabled back at the animal shelter. Lots of things that point to, but also against. If taking keys, like with Paul Stein and Anstey and Kathleen Johns, were something that the Zodiac was doing, why wouldn't he just keep doing it?
Maybe he's analogically trying to say, these are keys, you need keys to unlock the mystery, like code keys. leaving so many clues. That's just in my code breaking mind now. And I keep on hearing about keys. He's like, hint, hint, hint. You need keys.
He says the keys,
what I'm trying to say.
Right. He's been saying key codes since Sergeant Lynch letter. He says keys all the way up through the Tim Miller letter. So key is definitely his entire thing. What were you going to say, Nolan?
He's like,
oh, nothing. Go ahead.
Well, you mean own it. Well, about this Kathleen John stuff, obviously they're now out there trying to portray that she committed some type of insurance fraud by burning her own car. That was her intentions to do, that she was pregnant and she couldn't possibly have leapt out of a speeding car being pregnant without being injured. They're making claims now to discredit Kathleen Johns and then discredit the Zodiac. What's that?
How old was she when she died, when she had the heart attack, when she was going to meet Dennis?
I want to say she was almost in her 80s. If she was in her 30s, around 70.
No, I think she was in her 20s. I think she was 50s, 52, 53.
When she died?
So it was pretty young. Yeah.
2008?
To have a heart attack. Yeah.
Let me see if I can find.
She wasn't that old, so that Dennis even found that was really weird. He said, man, he was looking forward to talking to her and, opening up some more doors. And, so rest in peace, Kathleen Johns,
Right, right. Which I'm going to have to research that. I'll have to look that up and see if I...
If she was 31 and 70, that would make her 61 in 2000. And if she died in 2008, that would make her 69.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I need to figure out what her age is here on this. I don't think it was as early as 20. I will see. I will look to see if 30 years old. Yeah, it says complainant stated that a white male approximately 30. So never mind.
She's
she was trying to say he was 30. So I'm trying to see if I can't.
What I'm getting at is she seemed pretty young to have a heart attack.
Yes.
And those of us who've known people who are pregnant and who are having to, yes, they can bolt and they can run like hell if they're babies, if there's threats. So it's not impossible for her to bolt run like hell. And
don't mess with Mama Bear. Mama Bear, Mama Bear can rise to certain occasions that most other men could never if they're going to have to protect their children. Absolutely.
Yes.
Now, let's see if I'm really finding that information, what her age was. But I will look back and see if I can't locate that, because that would be interesting to know. But I think you're right, Nolan. I think she was relatively young for having had a heart attack at that particular time. We are down to the 5-minute mark, which is good. We've pretty much, I think, covered just about everything, including that. So open forum at this point. I think we just have a couple minutes left, but what would you like to add, Nolan, if anything?
I don't really have much to add. This is pretty much you and Harriette today, and with the ciphers and so on.
Yeah.
I'm like Dennis, I'm not good solving that type of stuff.
Well, Dennis was just taking.
That's what Dennis told me when he was showing me this. And I said, "Why are you hiding this? My name is Cipher thing." He says, "I'm not into ciphers, Harriette. I just don't have the patience for it." And Jack, and he showed me all the stuff in this. He pulled it out of, when this house was here, he pulled everything out of his container, and he was showing. I said, "Wow, Dennis, you're sitting on this." And this was the time that Dennis was okay with talking about Zodiac. He said, "I just want to be done with this shit, but look at this, and here it is." And so he was, showing me, but Dennis didn't have the patience to do all of this. And he said, "I didn't have the patience to do that, and I didn't have the patience with Jack, who was showing it to me." But I said, "Wow, he's showing you this. This is important."
If it had one solve, I would not have a problem with it. The problem that it doesn't have one singular solve and that many solves could be made out of it, it prevents me from even wanting to get involved, because how am I to know whenever my solve is correct if it can be made into several different things?
Well,
and we are down to 1 minute.
That I'd like to state.
Sure.
I have one thing I'd like to state. I have a new book. It is America's Most Evil Part 2, and the title of it, because so many of what I've done since last year is Jack is talking to Tom Voight, so it's saying messages to Tom Voight from Zodiac Killer Jack Torrance and more surprises. That's what I love about doing a blog to book. And I'm just, this is from all of this recent months of blogging. So, buy the book. But yeah, Tom
Well,
Voight,
I think that pretty much puts us down at this point. I'm sorry to have to cut you off there on the new book. We'll talk about that at a later date. But thank you guys again for being here with me, Nolan and Harriette. This was an amazing show once again. I want to say, everybody have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you next Friday with another episode. Everybody take care.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Enjoy it. Bye.
Thank you.
Oh,